Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we start off with a post from the subreddit Relationship Advice. It's the original post plus 4 updates. And then we move on with a beautiful and fantastic malicious compliance, which is just awesome. So, like always, if you just want to navigate through different parts of the video, you can just go ahead and use the timestamps. Now, let's get started with that first story. This post is from the subreddit Relationship Advice, and it's by user throwawayconfsys. I, 16 female, found out that my sister, 22 female, is dating a guy, 37 male, who was in some sort of relationship with our mom before she passed 14 years ago. We always just thought they were close friends. Do I tell her? I'm 16 female and I live with my aunt in Colorado. I have a sister who is 22 female. We grew up in New York with our mom. Never knew our dad. My mom passed when I was only 2 in a car accident. That's when we moved to Colorado. But a lot of people from my mom's life still kept in contact with the family. One of these people was Jared, 37 male, who our aunt always told us had been close friends with my mom. When my sister was 17, she and my aunt's then husband had a huge explosive fight and she left. She went back to New York and told us Jared had agreed to let her rent a room from him. 2 years later, they told us they were dating, which we all thought was super weird, but at that point, my aunt was in the middle of her divorce and it was getting really nasty with the custody of their kids. Since my sister was all the way in New York, even though my aunt told her she thought it was odd, my sister told her she was happy and she loved him and he treated her well. We knew nothing had been going on before then because my sister had been dating this girl for about a year before she started dating Jared. So fast forward to now, and my aunt is getting ready to move out of this house because she can't afford the payments on her own. So we had to empty out the basement and she gave me all of my mom's stuff that had been buried down there so I could go through them. There were all kinds of pictures and letters and journals, and it was cool to see that side of my mom. However, there was a lot of stuff that was about traumatic brain injuries, and I actually found letters from my sister's now boyfriend Jared to my mom from when he was deployed. Really romantic stuff, saying stuff that would suggest they were dating or at the very least had been together more than once. These letters are literally up until a week before the accident. One of them was still unopened because I guess it had arrived after she had died. Do I tell my sister? She does finally seem the happiest she's ever been. I don't know what to do. Well, OP, even though it could be considered meddling in somebody else's relationship, the whole thing sounds really dodgy and just because of the timeline. So, when Jared was 23, he had a sort of relationship with your mom that apparently was romantic. Your mom passes, but he decides to keep in contact with the family. 9 years later, your sister moves to New York at 17 and she rents a room from him. 2 years after that, they announce that they're dating. I don't know if there was grooming involved or not because it's unclear, but the timeline suggests there may be some there and that just makes it weird to me. I think your sister deserves to know that Jared had this sort of relationship with your mom. And if she decides to stay with him despite this information, well then that's her choice. Now, it could also be that she already knows because he told her and she hasn't told anybody yet. Anyways, what do you guys think? What kind of advice would you give OP? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they had to say. NeutralGood079 says, Age gap. Dated the mom previously. Last thing on the creep checklist is if your sister looks like your mom. Really round out the ick factor. And OP responds, she looks exactly like my mom did. That's why I'm like, weird. Wrapped to Right says, ew, Jared is icky. Your sister absolutely needs to know, but talk to Jared first. Tell him you found those letters and that if you don't hear from your sister within a week that she knows the history with your mom, you are going to have to tell her. She might already know and maybe hopes you never will, but if he kept this from her, then he's twice as creepy, as he already was just for having a relationship with a girl so much younger that he's known pretty much all her life and took into his home as sort of surrogate family when she was a minor. And OP responds, I don't know, that kinda sounds like I'm threatening him or forcing him to do something. I don't want to do that. Eileen I says, definitely tell your sister. She can do whatever she wants with that information, but it's so weird that he was into your mom and then your sister. Yeesh. And OP responds, I think I'm going to text her a picture of the letters and just be like, hey, I found these. A bit of information from OP's comments. I'm so nervous to tell her. I feel like she might think I'm trying to mess up her relationship. She seems really happy for the first time ever, and I don't want to ruin that. I'm just going to text her a picture of the letters and say, hey, I found these letters from Jared in mom's stuff. If she knows, she can say, okay, I knew about that, and if she doesn't, she can draw her own conclusions. Okay, well, the community definitely thinks that OP should say something to the sister, and OP has told us that she found a way to do it, through message. So let's move on with the first update and see how this story continued. So I ended up taking a few pictures of the letters and texted them to my sister and said I found a whole bunch of them in mom's old stuff that I could send her pictures of the rest if she wanted. And that's all I said because I didn't want her to think I was judging her or her relationship or anything. A few minutes later, I get a call from my sister's phone and I answer, but it's not my sister, it's Jared. He is so pissed off, and it was kind of scary because I've always gotten along with Jared, but he flipped out. He told me that I was trying to start drama and that those letters were from a long time ago and he didn't know my mom had kept them and it was an invasion of his privacy for me to read them, and he told me that I'd better throw them out and not tell my sister about it. He said that she's happy and she's finally recovering. She had a really bad eating disorder up until recently. She was hospitalized a lot when she was a teenager. She's gaining weight, and telling her about this could stress her out and be triggering. When she feels like she's not in control, she always just stops eating and becomes obsessive about how her body looks. And he said she can't be stressed out right now. I told him I thought she should know and he should be open about his past, and he said it would do more harm than good to tell her. He said not to try to tell her again. He was really mad and it was pretty freaky. So I guess I'm not going to tell her unless I can do it face to face? I think he might have already told her something about me though, because she's blocked me on literally everything, down to email. I can try using a friend's phone, but my sister has a spam filter that doesn't let unknown numbers go through. And also, I'm freaked out about him answering her phone again. He obviously has access to it, and I really don't want to talk to him again. I told my aunt about this, and she was like, okay, well, it is what it is. She's super stressed out about other stuff. And no, we don't talk to my sister often at all. I guess it's not something she needs to know though, especially because he's right about how this might trigger her eating disorder. It sucks, but thanks for all the advice anyway. Well, up until this point, OP did try to tell her sister and show her the information, pictures of the letters and stuff, but Jared intercepted that and told OP to back off in a very harsh way, enough to scare OP. Now, let's continue with the next update and see how things evolved from there. After I posted the second post, I felt really worried about my sister. So I texted one of the people who used to live in New York who was friends with my mom, but they had moved out of New York a while ago and said they had lost contact with Jared. I got freaked out after reading all of these comments and everything, so I called the police department where my sister lives and told them I hadn't heard from my sister and couldn't contact her and was worried about her. Later on, the cops called me and told me they had gone to her house and talked to her, and she was okay. I was basically just going to drop it because as long as she's okay, I really don't want to stress her out or have Jared get mad at me again or anything. We've been going through a lot of personal stuff here too. My aunt's almost ex-husband has been making a lot of drama and calling the house and making threats on social media about my aunt and stuff. He's the reason why my sister went back to New York. He is not a nice guy and is super creepy and abusive. My aunt's already had to call the cops on him for driving over here drunk at like 3 a.m. and pounding on the door. My cousin, my aunt's son, is supposed to be staying with his dad, but is hanging out with a lot of bad people and goes missing in action for days at a time. It's a really bad situation all around. So the next day, after the wellness check, I was in my room and someone rang the doorbell and my aunt answered it. And it was effing Jared. I wanted to jump out the window. I overheard my aunt being like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" and that he should have called first so she would have made something for him to eat. And he was just like, "It's okay, I'm only stopping by. I was in the area to see a client and Morgan, my sister, had mentioned that Madison, me, found some pictures and letters I had sent to Abigail, my mom, while I was deployed and I'd love to see them." I honestly felt like sobbing at this point because I was so freaked out. He does have some business in Colorado, but he was definitely lying about that. I had told my aunt everything that the letters had said before, but I honestly don't think she was listening to me or taking me seriously because she had just told me to drop it. I don't know, maybe she just didn't want drama because she's dealing with so much crap with everything else. But she was like, "Sure, I'll tell her to bring them down." It didn't really matter because I still have copies of the letters on my phone and laptop. But walking down the stairs and giving him the letters was so terrifying. My hands were literally shaking. He was standing behind my aunt, but I swear he looked like he wanted to punch me. My aunt had just gotten a phone call from a lawyer or something, so she went to answer it and he like snatched the letters from me and told me to back the F off. He was so pissed, he definitely knew it was me who called the cops on him and then he left. He just like waved at my aunt because she was on the phone in the kitchen and then came over and gave me a really awkward hug and then just left. Hopefully, he went back to New York after that. I haven't seen him since he left here. I hope he doesn't come near me again because I'm not going to give him a reason to. I don't know why my aunt let him in, but they were always pretty friendly with each other. Like I said, I don't think she really listened to what I told her. I don't know what else to do at this point, so I'm going to wait until things with my aunt get less crazy and then I'll talk to her about it again. I'm still really freaked out by all of this, so sorry if I explained it badly. Thanks everyone. Yikes, so apparently Jared really doesn't want the sister to read those letters if he took a trip from New York to Colorado to snatch them from OP's hands. This freaked out OP enough that she doesn't want to do anything else until she has some sort of support from somebody else. And that leads us to the final update of this story, which is 24 days after the post I just read. So let's finish up with that. Like I said in my other post, we've been going through a lot here. My aunt and her soon-to-be ex are getting a divorce and it's really nasty. They were fighting for custody over her kids. One of her sons would just leave for days at a time and we had a feeling he was hanging out with bad people and doing drugs and stuff. He overdosed and he's in the hospital now. We're not sure if he's going to make it or not. My aunt called my sister to let her know what's going on with him. After she was done talking to her, my sister asked to talk to me. I got on the phone with her and she said that Jared had told her that I was trying to cause problems, going through his personal things and coming up with lies about him. I told her that all I had done was find letters he had written to Mom and try to tell her about them. She said that I had no right reading the letters he sent to our mom, that those were personal and I should have just given them to him without reading them. She also said that Jared had already told her about his past with our mother. He says that our mother emotionally manipulated him, that she was toxic and abusive to him, and that's why he got so upset when he found out I had found the letters. She said our mom used him and had taken advantage of him and that I needed to mind my own business, that she was happy and didn't want me to meddle. The letters implied that they were definitely romantically involved. Some of it was pretty explicit. However, she basically told me she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. We weren't super close before this since she moved out so long ago, and I don't know what else to do now. She can always call me if she wants, but I don't think she wants to. She believes him and thinks I'm just trying to make problems. I don't believe anything he said about my mom. It's so transparent because up until now, he always talked so highly of my mom. And now that I found these letters, all of a sudden she was toxic and abusive. The letters definitely didn't make it seem like she was taking advantage of him or anything. It seemed like he was super into her too. But either way, there isn't anything else I can do. She knows about the letters, and I guess she's okay with it and wants to believe what Jared is saying. She told me to mind my own business, and I'm going to, because at this point, there isn't anything else I can do, and I need to focus on school and everything that's going on here. So that's it. That's OP's final update, and OP, from what I understand, really did try everything she could. She finally did get to talk to the sister, and the sister told her to back off, that she was happy and that Jared had told her everything. Even though Jared is most likely lying, the sister decided that she wanted to believe Jared's truth. And just like OP, I don't think there's much else she can do at this point. It sucks, but it is the sister's choice. Do you guys think there's more OP can do? If you do, let me know in the comment section. And now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliant, and it's by user Deleted. You reap what you sow, brother-in-law. My brother-in-law and sister are born-again Christians of 10 years, in a sect that does not condone alcohol or gambling. I have no problem with this ethos, but my brother-in-law loves to shove his religious views down our throats at every family event, and it's draining. My parents were brought up in the same religion, but are very laid back about the rules and believe what they do is their choice alone. Everybody else can do their own thing. I'm agnostic. I play the national lottery, £2 a week, and I like to have a glass of wine with meals out. My brother-in-law comments on this every time we meet. He comments, "It's a sin." And I say, only for you, not for me. This year, I won a few thousand on the lottery. I decided to give away some money to my parents and in-laws so they can go on a lovely holiday next year with the grandkids. So here's the malicious compliance. Brother-in-law found out about the money and got my sister to call me asking for their share. I responded, "Brother-in-law has made it very clear that gambling is a sin and any money received is tainted by that sin. I wouldn't want him to compromise his faith by accepting sinful money." My sister laughed and said she would relay the message to brother-in-law. Brother-in-law is now not speaking to me. Oh dear, what a shame. Ah, that was so nice. Brilliant, OP. Thank you so much for sharing this malicious compliance. And the title is so accurate. You reap what you sow, brother-in-law. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.